for, the average voter. Now, I'm going to set this basis for the conversation before I introduce my guest, because I've had, I think I had a conversation with some people at the behest of Yaga Africa, and I was, sharing my experience as an on-air person. The reactions that we got from the, callers after the elections. Many people have said, "Oh, I'm not going to vote again. I'm throwing away my PVCs. Not necessary." So I remember the first day after the elections, Sheriff had gone on leave. I was doing the morning crossbar. The first caller was like, "Where is Sheriff? Tell him to come back here. Is he not the one that told us to go and vote? Did our votes count?" And so, as much as it sounds funny, there are lots of people who have lost hope. There are people who have said, I don't want to talk about politics in this country. There's no hope. Our judiciary, everybody's compromised." But we forget about the fact that elections and politicking don't start and end in election or campaign season. It starts 3 to 4 years before that time. And when that season does end, the wheel begins to spin again, meaning that as the elections have finished, politicians are re-strategizing, they're plotting, they're planning every single move, every promise they make, every road they pat. It is a political statement of sort. But we, the people, we simply go to sleep and hope that all things will be fine and dandy just before elections, or we start screaming just before the elections again and hope for magic to happen. This is the basis for this conversation. My guest is a partner, and he is also a chief executive of Nextier. But I love him because I feel like his brain has lots of information, and every time I have him, I want to take out most of the information in his brain. Dr. Ndubisi Nwokolo, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Hard Facts.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you for having me.
Great. Dr. Nwokolo, obviously, the reason why I started this conversation by laying that foundation is because a lot of Nigerians have found themselves in this place where no matter what you tell them, no matter what, we try to do, they're just done with the electioneering and politicking in this country. But let's start by asking, it's not just about this election. I'm guessing that after every election cycle, you have a group of people who just resign to fate. Why does it seem that like the system continues to, do this to us again and again?
You just asked me $1 billion question. But I didn't want to say billion naira because you're going to say naira, no. So that's why I say $1 billion.
Okay.
The issue remains the way we see election. We see election as an event rather than a process like you described. Mm-hmm. So let me try to make our listeners understand what you just said. After the last election in the United Kingdom, the Labour Party knew that they had the opportunity of taking over power in the next election. They started first by removing the guy who took them to that election, electing Sarsama. And since then, we could see gradually how they started winning by-elections in some constituencies with the one they won last week in Scotland.
Yeah.
Being the next constituency they've added to.
Yes.
If you ask an average British voter, he would tell you that the next election that the Labour Party will win. In short, to the Conservative Party, they are almost like resigning to think that they will lose the next election. Mm-hmm. In their head, they are thinking, how are we going to form an opposition? Mm. I think that's a process we don't have yet. And you don't blame people why we don't think it that way. There are various reasons why we don't think in that direction. Because first, elections here are a do or die affair. Is a winner take all. So for you think it's either you get it today, don't think about tomorrow. So it's either you get it today or not. Why? Because our election is almost like a transitional process. It's not about transaction. You give and you take, you buy and you give. However, the last election, there was a big shift, and that shift came with the introduction of technology. To a lot of voters, especially the young voters in Nigeria, who, for us, if you look at our population, people who fall between that range of population are the biggest in number. In short, to me, they should be able to determine who wins, who rules, or whatever thing they want in the country, because from 18 to 35 are the core of our population. If you look at INEC data, you will see it. And these are the young ones who can manipulate technology, who believe so much in technology. And that's why you saw their rush to either register, have their voters card, make their voices known. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter which camp they belong to. It doesn't matter whether they voted for A, B, C, or D. But to them, they believe that technology is a game changer. Technology is a game changer, and that technology is a leveler. To a lot of them, they believe that with technology, you can be able to say that 1 + 1 is 2, and it will result to 2. However, the outcome of the last election and the inability of technology to deliver, however, it's important for us to understand that it was not technology that failed. It was human beings that should allow the technology to work, that didn't allow the technology to work. We can debate this, because even till date, INEC have not come out to tell us what that glitch means. It's still a technical word. We've not defined it. So based on that, those people who are now telling you they won't come out to vote, we are people who thought that technology failed them, that technology kind of defeated their thought and ambition and their belief. And I think that is what a lot of people, including people like yourself, have, since after the election, have started working on to tell people, no, it was not technology that failed. It was a human error. We're going to prove that. And the only way we have to prove that is to believe that election is a process. So let's start from now, after the 27th of March, see the next 25th of March, to see the next day as a next cycle to the next election. And the only way to do that is to start walking the way forward and to start putting everything right, including getting the young people who turned 18 after the 25th of February to be registered, and so many other things. So I think the way to make people to start believing again is by what you're doing. That the advocacy you're doing, the broadcasting you're doing, the education, the information, everything you're doing to make sure even though saying that democracy is going to fix all our problems. But among all means of governance, it still remains the best. And that's why we think that every approach that will help democracy to work, we need to help democracy to work.
The average person would also say, or would ask, and I'm here obviously speaking the minds of the people, if you say that we should go again and, prepare ourselves to go through this cycle, and you've told us that, there was human error, one way or another, technology should have been a game changer, it should have been a leveler, for depending on whatever political party you voted for, the young people should have won. I want to also state to you statistically that as much as we saw a high level of participation, conversations online and offline, people tripping out to pick their PVCs, even though many of them didn't have access to it, the percentage of young people who came out on that election day to vote was still abysmal. These same young people who you're saying are supposed to be determinants of, who leads us, because of course now there's that awareness, even though it's not enough, but then there is that some sort of awakening. Why is that statistic still at an abysmal, rate?
So I think there are a couple of factors, which of them includes, I was joking with a friend this evening, one of my colleagues, and I said, maybe when we are describing ourselves, don't first say your name. Oh, my name is Marianne Okon. Just tell the person, oh, first I am a Nigerian. So the person will know that you've seen it all, before you not even say your name. Because we make electoral process difficult. And a lot of our young people, you're not like more like us, So most of the young people are Ajibo. So when they look at the process, it's tedious. They want to vote, you make them line up for 8 hours, and those kind of things will definitely put them off. And that's why I like some of the advocacies we are doing now, which is to make voting fun, to make it interesting to young people. And I think these are some of the things we need to start introducing. If we make electoral process fun, interesting, not hectic, I think a lot of young people can start voting. And why I'm thinking that there's a lot of things we can do with technology. It's not a must you must come to you must come to the polling booth to vote. In most countries, they even do mailing. You mail in your vote, So imagine that we're able to work out stuff in the sense that if my name is on a particular polling center and they have my BVN, they have everything about me, they have the address where I live, and you open up the polling in such a way that people can vote through other means, or even if people have to come up to vote or come out to vote, you've decentralized it in such a way that it's fun, it's easy, it's interesting, like it's done in most countries. I think a lot of young people will come out to vote. However, it's equally important to understand that if you look at the statistics of young people that came out in the last election, you can't compare it with the number that came out in 2019. So we're somewhere. So by the time they know that it wasn't the fault of technology, that it was human error, and we're working towards correcting them, I think 2027 will be better than 2023. So it's a gradual process. Like I said, it's not an event, it's a process. So the process of picking up your voter's card seems easier, and other engagements, including making to young people to see that they too can even have the next president to be someone who is slightly below 75, or somebody who is in their 40s or so, or somebody who will be in his early 50s like me then. Maybe they can start listening and start thinking, we are the Gen Zs, or we are the whatever, we are the millennials. We can get somebody who is closer to our age into the office. And however, you see, it's not only about the president, including the councillors, the local government chairmen, the members of House of Assembly. So I think if it becomes very interesting to a lot of them, you see them trooping out to vote. And that's what we've not given them. We've not given them that passion to want to vote. We've always made it difficult. So when most of them will come out and see that even on that day, there will be a lot of securitization of the whole process, with people carrying guns and towels everywhere. They will say, let me better stay at home and play video game, But I think we're working towards that. We'll surely get to that place we're looking at.
Great. Let's talk about political parties, because we can't also talk about, getting political participation without talking about political parties. Over time, we've been made to understand that, or believe that, politics is a dirty game. And for you to get involved in politics, you've got to get, you have to roll in the mud, and you've got to get your hands dirty. So a lot of people would rather just sit on the fence and, just watch it, But then there's also this not too young to run bill that made a lot of people think that it was an open call to everyone to run. But then we forgot about the fact that it's not enough to run, but there need to be people like us in those political parties who share like minds to be able to support whatever it is that we want to support. How do we get more and more young people to get interested in joining political parties? Also knowing the mess that has been made of all the political parties, including the smaller ones that one would have thought that these ones would have come to change the game, but they also seem to be, wearing the same robes.
So I think I have a couple of ideas which I think is something some of us should be looking at. One, I think young people or CSOs and other advocates of democracy should be pushing for a bill asking people to run as an independent. So if I think I'm good and I want to join political party A, and they think they want to give the ticket to someone who they prefer because I don't have a godfather, or I don't have the financial strength or muscle, and I know that my people wants me. Probably I want to represent my people as a member of House of Assembly or as a councillor, and I know that I am our chairman, and I'm sure I'm the person my people wants, and the political parties won't have me because they know I won't play ball. I should be able to contest as an independent, right, and win the election. So I think part of what the young people should be pushing for now is for people to run election as independent. It mustn't be a member of a political party or any political party. So that's what I think. So yes, is politics dirty? So when they say politics is dirty, it could be objective, it could be subjective. But of interest is that no politics is not really a very like they say, there's an extent to morality that you can have in politics because a lot of things play out. However, such extent of immorality should not be such that it thwarts everything about the existence of a people. You should still have rules, regulations that everybody needs to abide by. Truth, honesty should still be there. However, are there diplomacies in politics that when you look at it, you shake your head and say, oh, but this is not what I thought. Yes. But not to an extent that it depicts everything as bad. Okay. However, for you to go into politics, I think there are issues that you really need to understand. Yes. Is it likely to touch on those fundamentals that you have? I think yes. There might be fundamentals that you have, but because you need to agree to those beliefs, for an instance. There might be some state issues that is against your cultural and religious belief. But because the majority have said yes about that, you have to go with it. And I have to be very honest about it, and I'll be clear. If you're a member of the Democratic Party in the United States,
I know where you're going. Of course, you have to support the LGBTQ, or else
do you understand what I mean? And your party is supporting stuff like same marriage and so on.
Yeah.
It might be against your ethics, your religious ethics, depending on where you worship. But your party have said yes to that.
Yeah, so you just have
you're likely to go with your party.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that politics is dirty. But these are some of the things you might concede as a politician. Do you understand what I mean? So these are some of these are state decisions. It doesn't mean that politics is bad, So that's my thinking.
Okay.
I could be against a particular thing, but my party has voted to go that way. You have to go with it. So when people say politics is dirty, it depends on what you're looking at. You know, there are ones that are no-no. The ones that are fundamentally wrong, fundamentally principles that nobody will want to look at. I don't want to start naming them, but if you look at those fundamental issues about the Nigerian political class, maybe myself, I wouldn't want to be found there. I could see those ones as taking.
Okay.
You know, but if the ones that are state issues, look at the way I describe it, state issues, maybe issue of the House to be voting, abortion rights, rights like rights to a particular thing. The state say this is what we want, and I remember most of these things are even debated and agreed. They are voted for. You could vote against your party, and your party will still win. You know, yes, as a person, you said no, that's not what you want, but your majority in your party have voted. And like they say in democracy, minority will have their say, but the majority will have their, you know, their way.
We'll carry the
So
day.
that's the way it works.
All right, Doctor, we'll take a quick break, bring some messages. When we come back, of course, we'll open up the phone lines. Lagosians have so many questions and on how they can also strategize, so they can be also 10 steps ahead of politicians as they also are preparing for the elections. Dr. Ndubisi Nwokolo is the chief executive of Nextier, and he's been our guest. David is here. He's got some information for us. David, go ahead.
Are you
Yes, it's still the nation's number one talk news and sports radio station, 99.3 Nigeria Info. 38 minutes gone past the 5 o'clock hour, and we still have our guest here. Dr. Ndubisi Nwokolo is a partner and chief executive of Nextier. He's also a good governance advocate. He's always advocating for one thing or the other, to change for electoral reforms, the change of our system, etc., etc. And we've been talking about why we, as voters, need a post-election strategy, even as politicians and political parties are strategizing as they get ready for another election cycle. And they're not strategizing in 3 years. No, they start strategizing right after an election cycle. So why should we be doing different? Well, a lot of questions coming in for Dr. Ndubisi already. The phone lines are open, Lagos. We've got about 15 minutes on the clock for you to jaw with the doctor here and ask all your questions and comments. 0700 993 993 993 0700 993 993 993. Now, if you're a lady, you can call 01465 7190. That's 01465 7190. You can join the conversation if you're listening to us from outside of the country. We're live via Skype, Nigeria Info on Skype. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook.com/Nigeria Info FM. We'd like to hear from you, so join the conversation. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Good evening, sir. Miriam, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm your guest.
All right.
I'm Mrs. Obuli.
All right, Mrs. Oboli, go ahead.
All right. I don't know why. Honestly, he has said a lot of things today, but two things comes to my mind. One, he spoke about continual voters registration. I don't know, why are we not doing it? Is it when the voters' time now come or the voting period comes, we'll now start doing the continual voter registration? Of course, people have been born after we did the last one, and nothing is happening. That's one. Two, if they leave it this way, voter apathy will just be there. They will not want to come out in the next election. Secondly, he said, in fact, so many things. I just want to say kudos to him. He said a lot of things, but let him answer that question I just raised. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Oboli. Dr. Ndubisi, go ahead, please. Did you hear her question?
No.
Ha ha ha. Okay, so she's saying that why can't continuous voter registration be done, just as you had raised the issue? Why can't that portal be kept open so that more and more people can participate? And I think that this is one of the advocacies of Demnet Nigeria. In fact, the major advocacy of Demnet Nigeria, that's Democracy Network Nigeria, they're asking that INEC keep the portal open for continuous voter registration, even as a section 10 of the Electoral Act as amended clearly states that there should be continuous voter registration. Dr. Ndubisi, I'll let you take that on.
So I think I like that question, that particular question. Why can't INEC leave the portal open so that people can register when they turn 18? I don't know. I don't know why they can't. They will. I'm sure they will come back to tell us, oh, it can't be done because of money and all that. But my question to them would be, can we have the list of all the staff of INEC? Can you tell us people who work in the local governments or INEC local government offices? So what is it that they do every day? So obviously they can't be receiving taxpayers' money for doing nothing. So for a lot of us, we see INEC as only effective during election period. So what do they do when we don't have elections? So we need to know. So for the person who asked that question, I think the advocacy that some of us, including Demnet Nigeria and some other CSOs that are working in the democratic space or governance space or election space have been asking is, why can't we leave this open so that people, once they turn 18, can walk into the next INEC office in their local government and register? These things are not rocket science. But because we live in a situation where if life is not difficult, then you're not a Nigerian. So that's why it's not working. Okay. Because I honestly, I don't see why that cannot be done. I've sat down to look through it. They will tell you, they will try to tie it to funding. but I don't think it has anything to do with funds.
Okay. There's another question here by Proud Nigerian Boy on Twitter, and he says, is there any reason why people should trust INEC after the last election? I mean, we've done our best for the electoral system and cannot be deceived again by these bunch. He says there's absolute lack of trust on INEC, and he says it is a waste of time because they can appoint anybody they like. Care to respond?
So yes, I wish I can get him to talk to me after this. Let me see whether I can convert him. Okay. So first, let me tell him we need to believe in this country. This country is not for one person. So why should we allow other people to lord over us and take what the common patronage for all of us and what some few people are having it? So that's why I think we should not allow what INEC did or did not do to stop us from believing in the country. No country, go to the history of the countries, any country you love, go through their history. Where they are today was through sweat and blood. People worked for it, people fought for it. And that's why I'm urging every Nigerian, don't allow what happened in the last election to affect your belief about the country. Still believe that a good Nigeria is possible. I hope I'm not quoting anybody. But what I know is this, that we can still make this country to work. And the only way to make it to work is to believe or to start believing that those processes that are not working, that we can make them to work. And that's why I think that the electoral process can work. They may have failed us the last time. We need to sit down. And that's why I like the way your analysis, Marianne, the way you try to say that the electoral process is not an event, it's a process. It's for us to review and look at those things that didn't work in the last election and see how we can force people who have voted in to put it to work. For instance, I know that the CSOs will go back now to now tell INEC that part of the INEC Act that they interpreted that, INEC can transmit the result any way they like. And that's what the Constitution says. We're going to go back now to force them to say INEC can only transmit electronically. So electronically need to come in now. And that's what I want Nigerians to start doing.
Okay.
We cannot just run away and say, we're not going to leave this country for them. we should be the one to run them out. We shouldn't be the one. I don't want to live in another man's country. I want to be here.
Okay.
So that's why we should start believing that this country will work for all of us.
All right. Let me take a few more calls. Hello. Welcome to HardFacts. Hello. Are you there? Hello. Welcome to HardFacts.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good evening. My name is Peter.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You see, concerning what people are discussing there, see, this last election has teach everybody a lesson. Because INEC, they have failed us already. The future of this country is nothing to write home about because of what we experienced 2023. Nigeria, we should just stop deceiving ourselves. The reason why I'm using this...
You have 10 seconds. Quickly.
Okay, the reason why I'm using this language is that what happened in the last election, it will continue. It will not stop.
Thank you very much for calling. You have 60 seconds and you're allowed to use it judiciously, but I really wish that you were going to make a very interesting point. Hello, good evening. Turn off your radio, please.
Good evening.
Yes, Chinayengwa, go ahead.
Yeah. I thank God for the female line. If not that I fight this morning, they will not bring the line back. Thank God.
Fight for Nigeria like that too.
Yeah. So what I want to ask is this. if I want to ask the people carrying the ballot, if it's a crime or simple offense. If it's a crime, why is it that those military people or the security personnel, all of them are the same? I want to ask this question. If it's a crime, why are they disarming those military people that is guarding the ballot box? Hello?
All right. Thank you very much, Chinenwa. So she's asking us it's a question that's been asked over and over again. Why are we not arming security agents who are manning, polling units? Because she's also asking, first question she asked is it a crime to snatch ballot boxes? And if it's a crime, why are we not arming security operatives to, man those areas? But then, of course, the law does not allow. Yes, security agents who have guns can be around polling units, but not at the polling unit. They can be a few meters away. But I'll let you talk about that, Doctor.
No, I think you've answered it. It's a crime to snatch ballot box. That's thuggery. You're not expected to do that, And not only that, that is a political thuggery. Doing that is a crime. You should be prosecuted for doing that. I think there's the Electoral Act and all that has defined what anyone caught doing that will be done. Now, on the part of security, like every other process, you only look at why you may not do those things that could make people not to come out. And that's, you can actually provide security around polling area. But to be exactly where people are going to cast their vote, you don't want a situation where people will see armed police officer or armed military officers or armed paramilitary officers and decide not to come out, So you need to kind of gauge between providing security and not securitizing the place in such a way that it might discourage a lot of people not to come out. So you need to weigh the two.
Okay.
But I do understand what you're saying. But these are part of the civil process that we need to go through. If we are able to start going through those civil processes where people see election, first, not a do or die affair. Secondly, as a part of governance process where cast your vote. If I lose, I lose. Where people do not have to do everything humanly impossible and possible to win an election.
Okay.
Then it becomes easier, And I know through your mind, there are a lot of things that are going through your mind, what our political class, our political elite are doing to win election. You can name a lot of them, we shouldn't go through all that process, I think when we get to that situation where someone wants to contest an election and he's telling himself or herself, it's about service. I'm going to serve my people. If they elect me, so be it, I will go there and serve them. But if they don't elect me, I'll go home. I'm not ready to carry ballot boxes. I'm not ready to influence anybody by giving money. I'm not ready to, I nearly wanted to say, I'm not ready to do this and that. I know where,
but Doctor, let me ask this question as a follow-up, just because we don't have time. The reason why snatching of ballot boxes or electoral malpractices have continued to hold sway, I'm guessing that one of the reasons is because most of these people have not been docked. If for example, I might be speaking the minds of a lot of people. There were people who were caught on camera grabbing ballot boxes, telling people that if you don't vote for a certain political party, go home, etc., etc. And security operatives were there. These people are walking free and doing whatever they like. So this could also be one of the reasons why people have lost, interest in the electoral process in itself.
So, Marianne, let me come in here. It's good we as Nigerians, let us understand that the electoral process or election malpractice is not different from every other form of crime and other things that are happening in the country. It's not different from it. They are still the same 6.5 dozen. So if you can look at other processes or other things that are going wrong in the country that we are foregoing or that we tend to look the other way, it's still the same. You know, so situation where I think there are ways of getting most of these things solved. For instance,
Doctor, I have to
do
let
you
you.
know
I have.
if you're
We
a
have to go.
councillor-
We have to go. We don't have
Okay,
time.
just 1 minute.
Okay.
Let me conclude.
Okay.
Do you know that if you're a councillor in the United Kingdom, you're not paid? You only paid a sitting allowance. So why would you kill somebody to become a councillor?
Big question, but Dr. Ndubisi, I have to let you go because our time is up. Dr. Ndubisi Nwokolo is the chief executive and partner at Nextier, and he's also a good governance advocate. Thank you so much, Dr. Ndubisi. Maybe we can do this again sometime soon.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. David is here. He's got some information for us quickly before we wrap up. David?
Jaja Smith Nation, in collaboration with TuneCore, presents Her Sound 2023.